Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level. Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business life and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
How you doing too, Eric? I am doing fantastic. We are actually 50 minutes into the autumnal equinox.
We are. It is now fall, and you know, today is the first day of fall. Next week, we start fourth quarter. It is amazing how quickly this year seems to have gone by. So, if you've made any long term goals back in January to do this year, you're coming up on D Day. This is it. It is time to get them done.
Yeah, absolutely. Time to look in the mirror and start things up again. We've talked a lot about different ways to do that as the year went on, and we have some other tips today too that might help you put them all together.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about building habits. And yeah, I want to start off with why. Why do you want to build a habit? And the fact of the matter is, a habit is a process that you don't think about. And that's really the bottom line of what a habit is. When we do anything, there's an energy cost. And that energy cost is higher when we have to figure things out, when we have to think about them. A habit is something that becomes so second nature that you don't even think about it. Now, there are loads of different things that could be habits. A morning routine can be a habit. A way you do the dishes can be a habit. Your after work routine can be a habit. Even things you do at work can be habits. But we talk about this at least once a year as the holidays approach, because most people have holiday traditions. Regardless of what holiday it is, you've got a tradition. Well, that tradition becomes a habit. You do it over and over again. You don't think about it. You just do it because it's so ingrained in you. And I will give you a little bit of the background science on this. We've talked about neurology before. And when you have a thought in your brain, it's an electrical impulse going over a neural pathway. If you have that thought again, that same pathway gets gone over again. Now, think about this in terms of a grassy meadow that a whole bunch of people walk across. You'll notice that a path tends to be dug into the meadow by the people walking across it. And because of that, more people will walk across at that point, building up that path. The same thing happens with your neural networks. The first time you have a brand new thought or take a brand new action, there's some resistance because it's building a new neural pathway. The more you do it, the easier that thought or action becomes because in your brain, that neural pathway is getting smoothed out so that it becomes more and more automatic. And when you do it enough times, the brain has no resistance left to that and it becomes a habit. You just do it.
Yeah, and it's neat. I'm looking at this diagram here, the habit trigger loop, and basically you have the cue, which is basically it prompts the craving to do what you want to do. That's the motivation, and basically you crave the motivation because you basically it could be a habit. You just talked about the holidays. Basically it's time to start planning for those things, and then you have a response. The habit delivers a reward, and that's kind of way the way that the whole thing works. It's basically trigger, routine, reward, and it works in so many different ways. And also mentioned that it becomes second nature. And how many times have you driven a couple hours on the same trip and you don't even remember driving when you get home? I mean, basically that's what we're
Right.
talking about because it's just autopilot. That's kind of like another word for habit.
That's exactly what it is. And we've all had that where we're driving someplace that we've gone to hundreds of times and we're lost in thoughts as we're driving, and suddenly you look up on the highway and you realize you're not quite sure where you are because you weren't really paying attention. Your body was just doing all of this on autopilot. And that's what a habit is. It is putting things on autopilot so that they don't actually take up your energy. And that's one of the reasons habits are actually important, because if you minimize the energy that you're using for day to day tasks, you've got more energy for challenges that come up, to try new things, to deal with obstacles. So if you've got a routine set up for day to day tasks, you make them into habits, and that takes the energy costs down. So let's actually go into a little deeper what you just talked about. The first step is a cue. And what this is that you are setting up a trigger that when the trigger happens, you go into the habit. Now, I'll give you a personal example. I have a workout regimen. My workout regimen is a combination of Tai Chi and weightlifting. And if I have to be perfectly honest about it, I hate the weightlifting part. I always have. It's a struggle for me. So, what do I do? Well, after dinner, before I start doing dishes or whatever tasks I have to do to finish up, I take my dumbbells and I put them by the couch. And that becomes the trigger when I finish everything up and go back into the living room. Those dumbbells are sitting there triggering me. Okay, I have to start the workout, because if I don't start the workout, I'm going to trip over the dumbbells. I'm going to stub my toe on those dumbbells, and that hurts. So the cue is I see the dumbbells. I know I have to start the routine.
Yeah, and then obviously the benefits from that is health. And
Yes.
about 9, 10 years ago, actually, it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we reviewed a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal
Yep.
Elrod. And basically, back then, I had been going to the gym since like 2013 for a while, and basically stopped doing that. And I was doing some things from time to time, but I really didn't have a routine going. And one of the things that came out of that book, and he has a different things that you can pot that you can do, is just get out of the book first thing in the morning, have a glass of water, do some exercises, maybe do a little bit of positive reinforcement and reading and so on and so forth and whatever. And I've been doing everything except really the exercises. So I got into that right away. And instead of going to the gym, which I stopped doing a couple of years ago, I automatically just take a walk first thing in the morning. And you're looking at me in my office, and my office is nice and square. And when it's lousy out weather-wise and so on and so forth, one lap around this office with all my beautiful pictures around to enjoy is 25 steps. So in 20 minutes, I am able to do 2,000 steps, and that gets me going. And then I go to my dumbbells, which are basically two 10-pound weights, and just do sets of curls and squats and a little bit of other stuff for another 10 minutes. Nothing really too strenuous, but that's what I do. The first half an hour of every single day invariably starts with that. And obviously, my benefits of doing that, I mean, since going to the gym and everything else, I probably dropped, well, before I started doing the exercises, probably about 30, 40 pounds. And I probably dropped another 10 or 15. But obviously, I've never felt better in my life because I'm doing that every day. And then I might even tack on an afternoon walk. And that's basically when you're looking to do habits, look at what your goal, we talk about goal setting and so on and so forth. And a lot of it is once you write these things down and you figure that out, is you can turn those into a habit also, because the process of doing that in the first place, you've probably gone through some routines to do that. And if you can continue doing that, you've just formed new habits to benefit you just by setting these goals yourself. So they kind of go hand in hand.
And they do. And there's a lot of crossover between setting goals and creating habits. And the first step in actually creating a habit is for you to define why you want to create the habit. Focus on what the benefit is going to be. And you can write it down in just one sentence. You know, working out is going to make me healthier. Daily reading sharpens my thinkings and lowers stress. Whatever your goal is, that why, that benefit that you're getting out of it is going to be your motivation. Because let's face it, it's not the habit that you want, it's the result. So figure out what result you want and then figure out what kind of a habit is going to create that result. And then you need to think of yourself as the type of person that actually does that. So you can write down, I'm the kind of person that reads 10 minutes every day. I'm the kind of person that reads X numbers of books a year. I'm the kind of person that works out 4 times a week. Whatever it is, internalize it and make it part of your identity. Not I will be, not I'm going to do this, but I am the person who does this.
Yeah, I think a lot of you know that I've been involved in a direct marketing company for greeting cards for like the last 20 years. And really what that is it's a personal development company. And one of the things that they taught us to do with our cards is to take the time out to send out our I am statement cards on a card. And basically, if you write down I am, you basically are looking at mission accomplished just by writing them. I am doing this. I am doing this. I'm taking a vacation here and that. And one of the coolest stories that I have for that card is back in 2011. A couple of years before, my sister and her husband had been out here from Illinois. She was looking to maybe get a new job out here, maybe move out here, and they spent 6 months with us. And one of my I am cards, one of the things says is I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, and I just said I'm enjoying a vacation in Hawaii. I sent myself the card. I got it in October. At the beginning of December, my sister gave me a call from Illinois, said, I'm going to Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii. And we were supposed to go with another couple, and they backed out. And she's like the Sky Miles queen as far as credit cards and all this other kind of stuff. So she already had a place booked in Maui and in Kauai and asked us if we wanted to join them. And I said, wow, this is really, really cool. So that was a week doing that. And we went out to Maui 5 days before that. And my wife and I had a beautiful 2 weeks in Hawaii. And literally 2 months after I got that card, boom, there it was. So, I mean, you can visualize things and they can happen. And if you have it in front of you all the time, as far as a personal development thing or whatever I am thing, and that's in front of you all the time, obviously, one of the best ways to reinforce anything you're looking to do is have a visual right in front of you. And I am statements are a perfect way to do that.
Yeah. Now, once you've internalized this habit, once you've decided what that habit is going to be, that's where a lot of people get stuck because they jump right to the end. Like, I am going to work out for an hour 4 times a week. That's a big jump from never working out before. So shrink it to a 2 minute version. Design the smallest action that only takes 2 minutes. If you want to start reading more, that 2 minute action can be open the book and read a page. If you want to work out more, it could be jog in place for 2 minutes. It could be do 2 minutes of jumping jacks. Something simple that you're just doing for that 2 minute period. And then ultimately, you'll be able to build up on that. But once you've designed the habit, that's where the cue that we were talking about comes in. You need to pick something you already do every day to anchor the new habit. Case in point, anchoring something to after you pour your morning coffee, so that every time you pour your coffee, you immediately go into the habit. I have a morning routine. First thing in the morning, I do a stretching routine. I think the longest it's ever taken me to get through the whole routine is 10 minutes. So it's not a terribly, you know, ambitious routine. It's just to stretch and get up. But I've been doing it so long now that I wake up and my body immediately goes into the position to start the stretches because it is habit. Another part of my morning routine is when I get into the shower, I say daily affirmations. And it has become so much of a habit. I get into the shower without even thinking about it. I start saying the affirmations. That's a successful habit because I'm not thinking, oh, I have to do my daily affirmations. Oh, I have to stretch. I get up, I automatically do the stretching. I get into the shower, I automatically do the affirmations. I don't think about it, it just sort of happens. And that's why habits are so effective because you're not thinking about it. You're not making excuses why you have to do it, why you don't want to do it. You're just doing it.
Yeah, I've actually got my own shower routine too, as far as singing my own affirmations quietly so I don't wake up the wife. But that's just the way that it goes. But one of the neat things about this, and again, we talked about goal setting and everything else, but if you provide yourself rewards for doing that, and basically a reward for you developing a really good habit is just a wonderful feeling of accomplishment. And everybody wants to feel accomplished and happy and so on and so forth. And what does that do? Just like a kid who's doing something really cool and you reinforce it by doing that. I mean, basically, it was 4 years ago last week that our granddaughter FaceTimed us and she was holding up a sign that said Big Sister. And so my wife and I started clapping for her. And then, of course, my son and daughter were talking to us about it. But every minute or so, Cora would hold up the sign again because she knew we were going to clap for her. She just got into that habit right away, and that's what kids do. I mean, they develop habits based upon appreciation and accomplishment, and that's what it's all about. And the bottom line is, we still have that kid in us. So don't be afraid to pat yourself on the back and have a ball with that because it's so important to do that. So provide yourself with rewards. Feel that sense of accomplishment. Look in the mirror and smile at yourself, or give yourself a high five and say, "Yeah, this is cool. I'm going to keep it up."
Yeah, rewarding yourself is so important. And it doesn't matter if it's a major habit or, as I was just talking about, the little 2 minute version of it. Take the win. You did it. Now, before you start doing the habits, one of the things you should do is prepare the environment. Place everything you need in a path of least resistance. You don't want to have to think about this. So, let's say you want to read a page a day and you're going to do it after your morning coffee. Well, place the book either on the kitchen table where you're going to drink the coffee or next to the coffee maker. This way, it's right there. You don't have to go, oh, I forgot where I put the book. Oh, what am I going to read? You've already made those decisions ahead of time and you've set it up. This is basically what I do with the dumbbells. I put them out so that I don't have to think about pulling them out of the rack and, oh, making excuses that I don't want to do it. They're already there. It's time to work out.
Yeah, I mean, basically, when I'm done with my last lap, my dumbbells are sitting on the hall tree, and I just grab them and I just pick them up and go and boom, right into that. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's just so important to just develop that and reward yourself for doing what you're doing. And obviously, it's just you're just going to keep building on it.
Exactly. And building on it brings up a good point because when you're building a habit, you want to set a floor and a ceiling for that habit. The floor is the smallest bit of the habit that you never skip. You're doing that day in and day out. And that's going to build up more. So, because you become used to doing it, it literally does become part of you. The ceiling is a reasonable cap to prevent burnout. So, again, let's say your goal is you want to build the habit of reading every day. The floor on that would be at least one page. You could put a ceiling on that of cutting it off after 20 minutes. This way, you're not becoming overwhelmed with, oh, I have to do this for an hour, I have to do this for 2 hours. You start small and work your way up. And then that ceiling, depending on what the habit is, can be raised as you go on. But tell yourself, this is only going to take 20 minutes at the most, because that's a lot less daunting than, oh, I'm going to run 10 miles today. I'm just going to run for 20 minutes. I'm going to work out for an hour and a half. No, I'm going to work out for 20 minutes. Eventually, you can get up to an hour, hour and a half, depending on the habit, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
don't start there. Start small.
yeah, I mean, life is a process. You don't get up today and say, I'm going to be a professional athlete and have a multi-million-dollar contract tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way. But through the process of time where athletes do their training and so on and so forth and build up, it takes years and years for that to happen, but it's amazing. One of my habits every day is right now I'm up to 6 dailies, which is basically books for the calendar, and you read on a different topic every single day, just a page or two. It takes me about 10, 15 minutes in the morning. And this touches personal development, it touches spirituality and a couple of other things. And I start my day with those every single day. And again, the books are sitting right by me, right by the computer here. And one of them, it's really important to just do that too. So one of my tips is figure out a topic that you like, and you can look up on Amazon and this and that, whatever, and get a book of dailies to motivate you or to educate you or however else you want to do that. But that's one of the things that's very easy to do and get into the habit of doing that. As you say, it literally only takes a couple minutes a day.
Right. And again, you're starting small. So what you should do is scale gradually. Start it with the tiny habit. I'm going to read 1 page a day. When that becomes automatic after 10 or 14 days, increase it. Increase it to, from 1 page to 3 pages. Go a little, do that for 10 to 14 days. Then add another page or two. So scale gradually. And then also, there's a couple of things you want to do to help build up the habit muscle. And one is tracking it visibly. Simple calendar or a checklist where you can see it. And someplace, put it somewhere that you're going to look at it every day. And aim for streaks. You did it 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. And when you're starting out, it does become very easy to miss. So use the rule that you're never going to miss it twice. If you skip a day, that next day you're going to do it. You're never going to skip 2 days in a row. And also, again, because we're trying to build these into habits, and it is so important to do it every day to strengthen that, things tend to get busy. So you need to install a backup version. For example, if for some reason you've got to run out of the house early one day and you don't have the time to read with your morning coffee, have a backup plan that you'll read at least one paragraph before bed. If you schedule something for the morning that it can't be done, have that backup of something you're going to do in its place later in the day. This way, you're not missing out and you're building up that resilience. Because the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Again, that's the whole point of a habit. And you can also bundle habits. This is, called habit bundling or habit stacking. James Clear wrote a lot about it in Atomic Habits. But basically, you take a habit you're already doing, such as starting the coffee maker every morning, and then create 2 to 4 micro habits that you can link onto that. Now, these should be quick, 30 seconds to 2 minutes tops. But put it in that every time you complete the first habit, you go right into the second. So think about it as, after I do A, I will do B. And then after I do B, I will do C. So
Yeah,
you know you're always going to do A because that's already a habit. And so you build the new habits on top of what you're already doing.
yeah, that's one of the key phrases is habit stacking. It's basically after one you do another, and basically what you're doing is you're building a bunch of good habits into what I call my morning routine or whatever you want to call it, but that's the routine. And they logically follow one after the other. And I'm obviously being kind of semi-retired and do whatever I want to do right now. I have a really nice morning routine that takes a little while, but it used to just be a few minutes back 15, 20 years ago. And that's what I did. And there are things that logically move from one to another. And the bottom line is if you're celebrating it and very, very importantly, keeping a positive mindset about that, which means that if you mess up one time and don't do it, don't let it get you down because you'll schedule it another time and just keep doing it again and look at the total effect that it's having on you. That's so, so important is staying positive about this whole thing because you can do it.
Yes, you can. Now, we've got time. The final part of this is making sure you keep going. Well, doing the same thing day after day does tend to get a little boring. So add small variations. If you're doing a workout, Vary the exercises in your workout. You can vary the amount of time you're spending, whether it's reading, doing your workout, whatever it is. Keep the structure the same, but add little twists and scale up so that you're not getting bored with the habit, because boredom will kill it. And then we mentioned using anchors, for habit stacking, or also the cue, you know, morning coffee, for example. If you're somebody that runs around a lot, make sure that you're using an anchor that's portable. Like after I brush my teeth, no matter where you are, a hotel, vacation, home, you're going to brush your teeth. You may not necessarily make a cup of coffee. You may go to a restaurant or a diner to get the coffee, but you're always going to brush your teeth in your room or in your home. So think of anchors that you can take with you on the off chance you're traveling, you're running around, to keep those habits going. And again, once it actually becomes a habit, you're going to be doing it automatically, and you can build more habits on top of it. All right. We are just about at the end of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway this week?
Well, as with everything, starting with your why is what's going to get it off the ground as far as habits go. And it's just so important to have a positive mindset in there. And if you just put it together and develop a cue to get yourself going every day, and you do the routine, and most importantly, reward yourself after that, you're going to build on those feelings of accomplishment. And believe me, you're going to develop a whole bunch of good habits, and it really won't take that long to do that. And just as we talked about too, the habit stacking thing, over a period of time, you're going to get more and more and more. Just like that professional athlete may have been really small in high school and so on and so forth, and all of a sudden grew 10 inches as an NBA superstar right now, just because they kept going and going and going at it. And it's through exercise, practice, and so on and so forth. So practice does make perfect, and that's the way that it works with habits too. So go out and get started and develop a few and enjoy.
Yes, it is. I think for me, the big takeaway is the why. You're not just building habits for the sake of building habits. You're doing this to get something out of it. So focus on that result. What is it that you want to end up doing? What is the benefit that you're getting from these habits? And that benefit needs to be strong enough so that it pushes you when you don't want to do it. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that today. Oh, but if I don't do it today, I'm not going to get the benefit. So focus on that benefit as you're building your habits. That will keep you going, and it'll also maintain good habits as opposed to negative habits, which tend to come up all by themselves and we need to break ourselves of. So focus on the benefit. What is it you're getting out of it? And if you need to break a bad habit, focus on the benefit of not doing that habit. So if you're drinking too much, if you're smoking, if you're eating bad foods, focus on why you want to break the habit. It will make it easier to do so. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode on xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.